Yeah, it wasn't my kind of book either.
Yeah.
Hello, UK Crime Book Club. I'm absolutely thrilled. I've got David Fennell here with me, and his book is behind my head there, The Art of Death. Going to let David introduce himself fully, and it's, product placement.
Oh. Boom, boom, boom. Hi,
That was
everybody.
pretty good. You're getting good at this moving around thing. So go on, introduce your book.
Oh,
tell us a
sorry.
bit about The Art of Death. Okay.
Yeah, so hello, everybody. As Sam has just said, I'm David Fennell, and I am the author of The Art of Death. The Art of Death is a serial killer thriller. It's my debut crime thriller. And it is the story of a newly appointed Detective Inspector Grace Archer, who on her first day in Charing Cross Police Station in central London is given what is considered pretty much a investigation into something that is pretty inconsequential and not very important, and it is like an art installation in Trafalgar Square that is upsetting a few people. And she discovers the art installation is actually quite sinister in that it is the three bodies of three homeless people, and which is quite bizarre. And it's from an underground artist who is threatening to exhibit more dead bodies, and so that it becomes a race against time for her and her assistant to try and stop that from happening.
And it is creepy as all hell. It really is.
It's what? Sorry.
Creepy. It's so
yeah,
creepy.
I hear.
Yeah.
So people tell me. I mean, I as an author, I'm like, I'm very close to it, and the creepiness level is something that doesn't register with me as much as it does with readers. I'm like, I'm writing from the perspective of the killer, and you kind of forget how creepy things are or how sinister. When some of the things he does, I won't say what he does, but it's just, I'm like, oh well, that's quite normal for you. Yeah, it's like, But then when people read it and tell me, go, oh my God, it's like. That's just horrible. What kind of person are you? And my partner, I'm like, when people have read it, they're going, how do you sleep with him at night? Okay. But I think a lot of crime writers probably get that.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Definitely. As long as you didn't have to practice, I can't imagine how you. I can't say anything. We can't say anything about the any of the acts in the book yet. I don't want to spoil anything for anybody. But it's
well,
yeah,
I think people, if they've seen any of the reviews and if they've seen any of the tweets, the artist he's an underground artist. He's like a Banksy meets Damien Hirst, and and what he does to people, how he exhibits them, is just by the Damien Hirst name alone, you some people might get an idea, not everyone, but it's just it's quite haunting and sinister. I hope for people anyway.
It's definitely haunting and sinister, and you do kind of think Hirst formaldehyde. The two just kind of go hand in hand. So there's a scene right at the beginning that absolutely turned my stomach. The thought of the smell.
Well, that's right.
I think you nailed that.
And I carry that throughout the book. The sweet sickly smell of formaldehyde. I thought was something that I did not want to ever not reference, and because it is a disgusting smell, and why would you not want to? It's like, so yeah.
We've got some comments that have come in already. Kaz says hi to us both. Hi, Kaz. That's Caroline Maston. What
Hi.
gave you the inspiration for a serial killer who sees the murder as art? Great idea, by the way.
Well, my original, there's two things to this. There's the social media aspect, and we can touch on that in a moment. But in terms of the art, and if you live in a city or in certain rural towns, for example, often we see these arts installations suddenly just pop up. It might be cows, or it might be very large snails. Cow sculptures or snail sculptures. Certainly in Brighton, where I am, and in London, where I spend a lot of time, these things just suddenly appear on the streets. So I was kind of intrigued by that idea of how, if we had this malevolent underground artist who exhibited his work, which would be bodies online, and via a sort of covert methods, largely down to very bad bureaucracy from local government that allowed this thing to happen. And but also, the whole formaldehyde thing and the Damien Hirst thing, it was like, it's the idea originally came from it was born from a Spanish horror movie. Well, I say Spanish, I say horror movie. It's more a thriller, almost horror, called La Cabina, which you can see online on Vivo. It's a 30-minute, very famous in Spain. It's a very famous Spanish movie. And it's about a man who goes into a telephone box. That's a telephone box suddenly appears in this where he lives, and he goes into it to make a call, and he cannot get out of it. And everyone tries to free him. They come along and they try to get him out of it, but they're unable to do it. And the fire brigade come. A local strongman comes, the builders come, but he's kind of in the hot sun and just dying of the heat. Everyone gets bored and goes away and leaves him, and then all of a sudden this truck comes out of nowhere and then takes the telephone box and takes him away. And I won't give any. Watch it because it's quite horrifying, and what happens at the end, and you'll see. And that was my inspiration originally for having the dead bodies in these glass cabinets appearing in the street. And yeah,
it's a very clever idea, but I'm a bit nervous about the idea of watching that now. From the description of it,
it's it's not gory. It's not. There's no slasher element to it or anything like that. It's like a very traditional 70s thriller come horror, and it's dated. It's quite dated, but it still works really well today. I mean, I would encourage everyone to watch it.
I'm intrigued.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
La Cabina.
I'm intrigued. La Cabina. Oh dear Lord, I've written down.
And it's a free watch.
The things I do with, I'm not good at visual things. I think it's like why I like to read, because anything that I read, I'm fine, but something that somebody else has depicted on film and puts into my head that way, I find that quite tricky. But I'm too intrigued by that not to watch it.
So do you watch?
Tomorrow, though. I might watch it at night.
What sort of movies do you typically watch? Crime movies, for example.
Oh, not really. Not crime. I read. Most of the things that I read are crime, but no, I think if I ever watch something, I tend to watch reruns of Frasier.
Mm-hmm.
Just things like that. And I love Wild by Cheryl Strayed. I absolutely love that. So every once in a while I'll watch that. I did start to watch Pulp Fiction last night, but I was tired, so I went to bed instead.
Yeah.
But definitely must fall under crime, horror, for parts of it as well. What about you? What kind of films do you watch?
Oh, pretty much anything really. If we're, in the context of, I guess, this discussion in crime movies and that are verging on horror, I think probably, the one we all know and love is Silence of the Lambs, and Silence of the Lambs is, is a brilliant book, and the movie is, almost identical to the book, right down to the dialogue. And I don't know if you've ever watched that. It's a
I've not watched it.
yeah. So it's have you read it?
No, I don't. I'm sure I've got it though. Even I'm quite surprised now that you're saying it that it's not one that I've read.
Yeah,
But no, I don't think I have.
Yeah, it's almost the gold standard for serial killer thrillers, really. And yeah, and the movie is quite fantastic. Creepy. You won't like the movie if you don't like creepy things. You won't like the movie.
I do like creepy things. I've got a weird thing about dehumanized faces. So I tend to be okay with clowns, and I don't like jump scares at all. So I'm highly likely to punch somebody who jumps at me just on reflex. I hate jump scares completely. Can't stand them.
Yep.
I look quite little and sweet, but
but feisty at the same time.
Maybe. We've got loads of questions.
Oh, you've frozen.
Oh, David Gilchrist. Can you hear me now? Am I moving again now?
I think I might have lost you there.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can now, yeah.
Okay, good. Don't know what that is. I've got everything plugged in. I've been very careful, so let's hope it's not the weather picking up again. Weather here has been dreadful this week.
Oh, really? Have you got snow and stuff?
Oh, yeah, it's been bizarre. We've kind of stopped noticing the snow because every time you look out the window, it's snowing again. And then it's not. And then it started again. It's constant on and off. It's very strange.
Yeah.
Caroline wants to know, how do you find marketing the book on social media? And she says you make an interesting point about how much people give away on social media.
That's right. Yeah, thank you for that question. It's a really good question. I mean, I work in cybersecurity in my full-time job, and so we're very aware of what companies and what people give away about themselves and about their organizations, and how unsafe that is in this age. And I always was fascinated by things on a global scale. For example, the Brexit vote and the Trump election were both very strongly influenced by social media. Almost everything to do with how a lot of people thought, with certainly with Trump and certainly with Brexit, was influenced by what was pushed into Facebook. And regardless of how any of us want to deny how much social media changes how we think, it really does. And I will be a person to admit that as well, because I'm certain things I'm on all sorts of social media, despite disparaging it and despite criticizing it all the time, and despite being someone who is very is a proponent for data privacy. I still I use Facebook, I use Twitter, I use Instagram, and but it's I personally try to, I hope that it doesn't control my thinking, but I think it probably does to a certain degree, because we are, we get our news there, we get everything there, and we get all sorts of emotions are generated from what we look at on social media, and then of course what we decide, what we choose to like, and the like button is a really important thing here. If we like things about kittens, if we like things about dogs, which we all do, I'm a dog man more than a cat man, but it's like I'm constantly looking at dog videos. But also, there's political things, and there are, certain people who might follow certain political beliefs, and we might like what they say or do, and they might express opinions that we like or say or do, and that sort of thing. All that information is captured and stored, and a profile is built about us. So with the Art of Death, I wanted to sort of bring that down to the level of a serial killer who goes around and looks at our Facebook profiles, our Instagrams, Twitter, not so much. In my book, it's mainly Facebook and Instagram. And he looks at where he sees people, maybe on the street or in cafes, and in the opening chapter, he's in a cafe and he's profiling people around him, and people will be checking in to this cafe, and they'll be doing like a selfie of themselves with their friends, and a certain woman might take his interest, and she will check in on Facebook, on the cafe's Facebook page, and then instantly he can see her and that picture that she's taken, and he can click on her name, he can go to her Facebook page, he can go to her Instagram, he can see what she likes, what she doesn't like, where she's checked in before, he can see geographically where she lives potentially, and so the point is, there are digital footprints left by all of us, about our personalities, about where we go, where we eat, where we drink, where we live, and that sort of thing. And in the wrong hands, that information can be useful to certain serial killers who who will look at your Facebook data, if it's all open to the public to see, which most of ours are. And like a peeping Tom, he will look into your lives, as my killer does, profile you, and then catfish you, depending on the type of person you are. If, say, for example, if you're lonely, or not lonely, if you're on Tinder, or you're on Grindr, or you're on any sort of dating app as well, then he will use that to catfish you, and then make you one of his exhibits.
It's quite funny, really, when you think of social media. We can be really critical of people who we think overshare, but at the same time, we're so mistrusting of somebody who closes the profile. It's kind of, there's no middle ground. If it's not somebody that you know in real life, you really don't know what you're getting. And we'll just say your killer is so bold. He takes one of the photos in the cafe, and he has conversations where he's right there talking to people who don't, about what he's done, and they don't realize who he is.
Well, that's right. It's very easy to, when you catfish people, it's very easy to pretend to be someone else. So you use different pictures, not pictures of you, pictures that would appeal to the person that you're trying to catfish. And these could be stock photos, or they could be stolen pictures from another profile. And certain people, he has a way with words, and he can use his virtual digital silver tongue to mold them and groom them, which is effectively what he's doing, and 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 it's quite sad. And this does happen. Yeah, I mean, I'm not. People are not caught and put into formaldehyde and exhibited in Trafalgar Square, but people are catfished all the time on social media. Social media is we all know this because we know people are being targeted all the time by bullies or by bots or whatever else. It's a minefield, social media, but it's part of our lives, and I critique it, or I criticize it, and I hate it sometimes, but it's as an author and as someone who has family and friends during a pandemic who I cannot see, it's an absolutely essential tool for us to sort of keep in touch and keep in touch, and so it's got some great things, but it's also got some potentially dangerous things.
Yeah, it's a tricky one, but it is one that you do really well. You show it from both sides, even though it's all written from a certain point of view, and you're in the head the whole time, looking over the shoulder. It's sorry, that completely froze there.
I can still hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, good. Okay, that's good. Move on to one of Caroline's questions. I've talked to people about this quite a lot lately. Do you read all your reviews?
Some I do, and I've been getting some very good reviews for The Art of Death, and I'm absolutely delighted. But I don't. It doesn't. I still think there's room for improvement all the time. I got some bad reviews. Not many. I might get more. Depending, because it's only been out a week. But I do read them. Certainly all the ones that I've got this month from the book bloggers. The book bloggers have been absolutely incredible. I've read all of theirs, and I'm just blown away. But on Amazon and Goodreads, I don't always get the chance to go there. I know there's a lot more on Goodreads now, but I glance through them, and some of them, most of them are really, really good. But then you see the bad ones, and you kind of go, oh well, But the thing is, and as all writers will tell you, not your book is not going to make everyone happy. Not everyone's going to like it, and that's a fact. Reading is subjective, and as writers we have to accept that. So I hope that answered the question.
It did. Mike Craven says, hi, David. He says, are all the Grace novels going to be set in London, or will she leave the city?
What was that? There's a bit of interference there. Sorry.
Are all the Grace novels going to be set in London, or will she leave the city? And that's from Mike.
Yes, they're going to be set in London. I think it's that's really important to me, is that they're all set in London, and I think London has got so much to offer, like all cities do. But it's a city I know very well, and it's a city with a ton of history, obviously. So I have no plans to move her out. She might go some places and do a little bit of an investigation somewhere else as part of a London-based crime, but they will all be London based. That's my vision. I'm only contracted for one more, but so who knows? It's we might not get beyond two. So, but certainly the second one will be in London, the one I'm writing at the minute.
I'm tempted to take the book down from behind me and show everyone the map, but I'm scared I'm going to knock everything on my head. But we've talked about this. We love a good map.
I can do that. Shall I do it?
Yeah, please. It's quite precariously balanced. Not yours. It's just everything at either side of it tends to fall off.
Okay, yeah, they did a wonderful job
Love
of the
the
map.
map.
This is a copy I'm actually giving away. So I had this stamp made. So my killer has he's called Anonymous, but the A is the @sign, and so it's a bleeding @sign is his actual insignia. So I had a rubber stamp made with
that's so clever.
that, and so this is for a competition. I've just done a book giveaway, and that's waiting to be sent. But this is the map. Don't know if you can see that. Whoop.
Yeah.
So those are all the locations in London, central London, and around London, where a lot of the deaths, the murders take place. One important thing, I mean, if anyone's read it and plans to read it, every location that I've used in The Art of Death exists. It's a real location. There is nothing that is fake. So everything is every place is real.
That must have been really interesting, the research then. So
yeah,
were they all places that you already knew?
No, somewhere, but many weren't. And I did a lot of research online. A lot of these places they're derelict, because my killer has he has almost a kink for anything that's being forsaken and anything that is derelict. He sees the beauty in decay. So a lot of these places are, they're not. You're not able to visit them. You're not able to see them. So I did a lot of research online, and I have some books that I looked at and did some research there. And you as a writer, you have to sort of do your own a bit of artistic license, really, and just focus on the story and make it as engaging for the readers. Everything is authentic, but story is more important in my view, and I think Mike will probably agree with that. He's a brilliant storyteller, and that always comes first. I think in these areas, we can't always get. So basically, my point is you can't always get to visit these places, but if the story's good, then I think the reader will go with it.
Yeah, I agree, definitely. Kaz has also asked, she says, Death as Art is interesting. Have you seen the Gunther von Hagen's Body Worlds exhibition? I've often thought he'd get away with serial killing. Oh, the conversations I have with my friend Kaz. Well, so have you seen that exhibition?
No, I haven't, but my killer references it. References him towards the end, and if for those that don't know, he Gunther is responsible or created plastination, which is the process of making real bodies plastic or putting like a plastic fluid into the real bodies of people whose skin have been flayed, so we can so we can see their muscles and everything else, and how, it's um, it's art, but it's also science, used for educational purposes. And he was a bit of a character. He died a couple of years ago. Um, yeah, he was very famous because he did a live Channel 4 show once, I think, and where he cut up a live body. I don't know if anyone remembers that.
I do remember, but no, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about it. No, I like the whole idea of that in a book, but actually doing it, and I understand there's a lot can be learned from it as well. Don't know. It's not.
Don't want to see it though. I totally get that. I'm quite.
I have seen pictures of it. I don't think I could go and actually see it in person.
Well, it doesn't look real. They don't look real. He does not just humans but also animals. So he has a flayed horse, and it's quite a remarkable thing to see. But they don't. It's easy to detach yourself from it, and when you look at them, and because they just don't look real. But then when you start thinking, oh my God, that used to be a person, it's like, it's kind of freaky.
Kaz says it's a fascinating exhibition. She watched the show he did on Channel 4, where he did an autopsy and showed different systems. It was intriguing. I can't even imagine how long that process must take to get right. First of all, there must have been some errors in the learning process.
I would say so. Probably experimented on frogs or something like that. Little creatures.
This is what I'm going to be sat up doing, isn't it? 2:00 in the morning, I'm going to be Googling how he started out. Not really what you want to be looking at 2:00 in the morning, though, is it? Finding the images. Not really, yeah. Book 2. So you contracted for book 2. Can you tell us anything yet? Have you started yet?
Yes, I'm about halfway through, and it's getting some considerable rewrites, but yeah, it's progressing. I have the concept and the idea and what I'm doing with it, but it's a lot of. It's like a storm in my head at the minute that I'm trying to calm, and I know where I've got to get to, but it's keeping me awake at night. So, are you asking for what it's about? Is that something?
Only if you want to discuss that. If you are not there yet, then don't go there. That's fine. If you're not up to that yet, we can move on.
Well, I can tell you, it'll be dark and as difficult to read as the first one, I think.
So when it comes to research, what kind of things did you find you really needed to look into to get the details as right as you have?
Preserving bodies, and how to use formaldehyde. Although I don't go into great detail about that whole process in the book, right. My focus is always on just telling a story and propelling the reader along and make it enjoyable. So there's not. I don't really focus on technicalities, but still, it's important to understand, that whole process of how it works, how to put dead things into formaldehyde, and police procedural stuff. Again, I don't go into a lot of police procedural detail. I'm very light on that. My focus is on a team of people trying to investigate something and stop crimes. So the whole, the details of the police and the whole procedural things. It's I have a whole bunch of police manuals here, but I very rarely refer to them, to be honest. But I'm reading them going like,
like it's written in another language.
Yeah, so I just kind of write instinctively, which I hope it works. And often my editor would like pick it up and go, well, actually this doesn't work. This wouldn't happen. And thankfully that we figure that out together.
Interesting team dynamics in the book. I really like that you've captured so well how Grace coming into that office and how she got there in the first place and why she's there and how she has former connections to the team. I like how you've played all of that out. It feels really organic. It feels like as though you've literally walked her in and learned as you've gone how people are going to treat her and how people are going to act and where she's going to get support from and where she's not. It's such a good dynamic. And yes, some of them are a bit frosty. Should we go with frosty? Some of them are a bit frosty towards Grace to begin with. So how much work goes into creating an office environment like that in such a high pressure environment as well, to write so many characters so well?
Well, it's very, very kind of you to say that. And thank you. Well, yeah, I think it's always incumbent on writers to make their heroes' lives difficult. And this is Grace Archer's first day on the job, and without giving too much away, she is taking over the role of a DI, a previous DI that she had arrested, who was corrupt. I won't say anything more than that. Obviously, I don't want to give too much away. But she's worked for 10, 11 years for the National Crime Investigation, the National Crime Agency, the NCA. So she's been working all over the country doing all sorts of different investigations and detective work, and so she's gone up through the ranks, and so this position has come up, and she's really encouraged to go for this role because she spent a long time at the NCA doing a lot of crappy investigations. And now she's got a chance to work for the Met and really make her mark. So she grabs that opportunity. And of course, because she had been part of an investigation, a sting operation that involved the arrest of a DI and other significant people, she's instantly unpopular. So, she... for me, it was more important and potentially engaging for the reader to have a situation where we have this quite ambitious serial killer who is doing these mad things, while someone who's leading that investigation, the SIO, is at the same time trying to stop these killings, but is being brought down at every corner by her colleagues. So and that just kind of makes adds an extra layer of difficulty for her and interest for the reader, I think.
Definitely does, because you don't know how it's going to play out. Anytime she walks back into the room, you don't know what direction things are going to go in. So yeah, I'm enjoying that. Obviously, as I said, I've not quite finished yet because I received mine yesterday from Goldsborough. So this is what I'll be doing. This will be me once we switch off at 8. I'll be, I think it's going to be pajamas, get into bed, get cozy, and carry on reading.
So Saturday, pandemic Saturday night for you. Yeah.
Oh, that makes me think of a question from that's one of my Saturday nights anyway. I'm not very rock and roll. David Gilchrist asked how it was for you writing during a lockdown and pandemic and publishing during that time.
That's a really good question. Thank you. You know, I'm quite used to working in isolation. I'm in my office now, which is a little room in my house. It's what we would have called growing up in Belfast a box room. I don't know if you use that term here, but
We
it's
do.
right.
It looks quite big for a box room.
Yeah, it's you know, there would have been you know, this is where the youngest kid in the house would have slept, and there would have been a cot here probably, and you know, and so it's but it's perfect for my office. It's pretty small, you know, narrow, but you know, it's my space, and so and yeah, so I'm kind of used to being isolated and working in that kind of way and not getting out much. The first lockdown was fine, you know, because the weather was better, and we'd spend a bit of time in the garden, and you know, in and out of here. I'd sometimes work in the garden, and it didn't feel so confined. Second lockdown was okay. You know, the third lockdown, this one has been pretty miserable for all of us. You know, it's post Christmas, and the weather is awful. You know, there are, you know, different variants of the disease just all over the place. We're all worried. We're stressed, and it's not easy for any of us really. And I will admit to struggling. I'm not not enjoying this at all. This lockdown, and of course, you know, I'm really focusing, trying to get my next book in place, well, as well as doing my full-time job and everything else. So it's hard, but you know, I'm not alone. I know the whole country is really struggling, and people have it a lot worse than me, much worse than me. And but it's easy, and releasing a book at this time is it's awful for all us writers who are trying to make our books successful. You know, we have no events to attend, and no promotions. We can't go around bookshops to meet people, to sign, and so on. I mean, I'm not moaning, you know. I mean, that is a situation. I've accepted it. I'm fine with it. It's okay, but it's, you know, it's difficult, and it's painful. But this is quite minor compared to what some people are going through. So I'm not, you know, I have it easy, you know, compared to a lot of people. But I
get
you know,
that, but it's okay to be disappointed. It's your crime debut. You're preparing for it. You're excited for it. It's okay to be disappointed. It's not. It's really bad for somebody else. So I must, you know, it's okay. I'm disappointed for you, for all of you. We all are. It's just
thank you.
Sad that we can't go out and do things. You know, it's your first crime novel. You're really excited, and then you're stuck in your house talking to people on camera. It's okay to be disappointed about that. You know, as fabulous as I am.
Oh, I don't mind.
People will be lovely.
Thank you. I mean, I quite like that. I quite enjoy that. You know, I mean, it's talking to you in camera is lovely. You know, I mean, I think, and I'm not just talking about me. I'm talking about my fellow writers. You know, who, you know, are struggling, and you know, and I mean, I was very lucky because The Art of Death went to number 14 in the hardback fiction charts, and that I never expected that. That was pretty amazing, and it's had a really great response, and I've got support from people like Mike Craven, who is a brilliant writer, and I love his work, and he's been very supportive, and of course people listen to him, and that's wonderful. But other people, it's quite hard, my publishers have done a really great job with The Art of Death. The cover, as you can see, is just incredible. I'm really happy with what they've done and the support they've given me.
I really want to take it down and show it off. I'm going to have a go at right. Watch it all land on the head now.
There it is.
So
postcard version.
Can you see how it's all? I mean, you know this. You know how beautiful this is, but it's not flat. It's raised. So there's shiny blood stains.
It's real blood. Real people have bled for this book.
Real blood, sweat, and tears on the cover. It's just so cool. You can see it shining. It's so good.
Yeah, and if you scratch it and then taste it, it actually tastes of blood.
Scratch and sniff bloodstain. Oh dear, this is where it's all gonna go wrong. Ah!
Oh! Cut!
I told you. Right.
You need some good bookends.
Just you and Sheila Bugler that have. Oh no, my books are on the floor. No.
No, it looks good.
Okay. See, now this is the night.
The Art of Death, and that's and that's how it should be.
We've got you and we've got Sheila Bugler who have survived.
Me and Sheila.
Oh my word, my books. Okay. And breathe. They all look like they've. Oh no, not that one. Okay. They all look like they've landed in good places.
Fix it. I'll sing a sea shanty if you go and fix your books.
They've all actually landed perfectly, apart from one that I've just moved. Oh, somebody's laughing at me. Right, let's move on to. Oh, God. Let's move on to Mike Craven asking, is being married to a bookseller a help or a hindrance? Oh, my word.
It's a very good question, Mike.
You've taken a long time to think about this one.
It's a help, without a doubt. And it's not a hindrance in the slightest. We both love books.
I think he's just being cheeky, isn't he?
He is, yeah. And we share the same agent, who's also a bookseller, and it's brilliant that David and I, my partner, who's also my agent, we love books. We're really passionate about writing and reading and everything, and it's a wonderful thing, and if you have that with your partner, it's a brilliant thing, and it's not a hindrance. Sometimes it does get in the way of our of stuff, but generally not. Generally, it's we have a brilliant relationship, and it's we like I said, we love books, we love reading, we talk about books all the time. We talk about what we're reading, what we're and we do get very caught up and story and what people are doing and what's going on in the industry and stuff like that. It's
What was the last thing that you both read that you both enjoyed? Can you even answer that for him?
Well, he is he's just taken on writer called Sean Lusk, and he's just sold Sean's book, and it's which I'm very excited to read, and it's called the I don't know if we should tell the title if it's been released yet, but it's I'm not going to tell the title just in case I get into trouble.
Just in case.
It's basically about it, and it sounds amazing. So it's about I think it's set in about the 18th, 19th century, and it's about a man who creates automatons, and which are these clockwork robots, and
right, yeah.
I think one of them kills his daughter accidentally, and it's basically this really turns out to be this really amazing, beautiful story, which is really, really well written. Anyway, he sold it, and oops, losing my ears.
Well, it was your turn. It was your turn to break something.
There we go. Anyway, so that's going to be, I think, published next year, and that's very, very, very exciting. So, in terms of what I am reading, what have I read recently? That's really I have. Let me look. What am I? I haven't read. It's been a few months since I've read anything, because when I'm writing, and I cannot, I cannot read crime, and because it just influences me too much. I'm reading, and in fact, I answered this. Somebody asked me this question the other night. I'm actually reading Game of Thrones. So, George R.R. Martin is a brilliant writer. His prose is really superb, and his storytelling is excellent. But I started reading the first one like 4 years ago or something like that. Possibly, yeah, possibly. No, about 2 years ago. And then I put it down, and I hadn't returned to it. And then so I returned to it quite recently. But I knew exactly where I was. And of course, you won't get that with any other book, mainly because of the television show. So I was able to pick it up and go, oh yeah, I remember where I was. So I just started reading it again. And of course, it's important to always read when you write. But I think, for me personally, I cannot really read crime. Certainly not police procedurals, which I don't really read very much anyway. But crime books obviously cover a wide spectrum, and I love crime. So generally, I will read something else that's not in my genre that I'm writing. So it could be anything. It could be obviously fantasy like Game of Thrones, it might be horror, it might be science fiction. It could even be literary if it's a good story. I'll read it. So it really depends.
Read quite widely as well. I'm being laughed at. Ha 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 ha. Oh Sam, lol. Thanks, Tony. I do this though. This is why I never touch a book, so I was surprised I got it off. It was the putting it back on that was the mistake, wasn't it? Kaz wants to know if you have audio versions of the book, and would you make a graphic novel version? Kaz loves a graphic novel.
I didn't get that. I think there's a bit of you're back now. Could you ask that?
You
question
froze
again?
for a second on mine as well. Yeah, let's go again. So I'm being laughed at for knocking things over, and Kaz wants to know, do you have audio versions of the book, and would you make a graphic novel version? She loves a graphic novel.
Does she? Yes. Who doesn't? There is the Audible version is out. Excuse me, which is very good. I've started listening to it. Graphic novel, that's not up to me to do. That will be up to the publishers.
Excuse me.
So I don't know if there would be a demand for it, but that's that would not be my decision to make.
Would you like to see one though, if there was an option for it?
Of course, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think it would lend itself very well to a graphic version.
Yeah, because it's so visual.
Yeah,
I think
yeah,
even
people.
I'd read that.
Yeah, as long as it's not too scary, not too graphically
I know, I'm
scary.
such a wuss. I'm such a wuss. I really am. It's ridiculous. And apparently we need a blooper reel. Thanks, Tony. Me and Kaz have already had an idea for that. So should have done it last year when Luca Vestaine knocked the pop vinyls on himself. Well, they just fell off the shelf behind him and like it was raining pop vinyls. It was quite funny. He wasn't harmed. He was fine. It was just funny. He's had quite a few good. Me knocking the books over, that's nothing compared to what other people have done. So I can live with that. At least they didn't land on the head. Right, give us. We've only got a couple of minutes left. Give us a final recap of the cover, the story, where you'd like people to buy it from. Anything you want to say before we finish?
Okay, well, there's this is the book itself. It's a beautiful kind of matte.
It really is.
A covered finished. I feel like I'm on a shopping channel here, and prices up here to the left. Yeah, and it's got real blood. This is actually my blood on here, which I've donated. Thank you. And this is the back. As you can see, you got still little dummy here.
Such a good cover.
Yeah, it's incredible, and a little dummy on the spine too.
Oh, I haven't spotted the one on the spine.
Yeah, so
you can get it down again now and have a look.
Yeah, nothing's going to fall.
No, it's already down now. It's quite stressing me out, I've got to tell you, but they were the safe.
It was a house of cards that yeah, and of course the maps are rather beautiful. I really do. But there's also this. Mine have got to collapse now.
Your turn.
So this is the Goldsboro Books edition. They did a limited edition with that really beautiful art of the dummy, and this is it's got the black.
Nice.
And it's pretty much the same inside. So yeah, and it's The Art of Death, my crime debut, and it's about a serial killer who uses social media to catfish his victims, but he's also an underground artist, and he takes his victims and then uses them as art to reimagines their bodies as some sort of crazy exhibit that he then displays on the streets in a cabinet and preserved in formaldehyde, and streams online on Facebook or Instagram, wherever. So he has basically an international gallery, and of course these images never disappear; they stay online forever, and that's his. And he knows that, so he's become instantly notorious.
Well, it's a blooming brilliant idea. It was so creepy and so well done. And I'll write the review once I finish reading it. But yeah, you gripped me straight away.
Thank you.
Absolutely lovely. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. And I'm sorry we had a little bit of a problems with the lines, and I'm sorry your books fell down, but it was great comedy value. And,
I'm good for that. Yeah, my husband would tell you that. It made me laugh actually when because I always say every good home needs a Dave, and your home's got two.
Oh really? I'm wondering if he had some string, if he's in the background and has some string attached to those books.
am literally, I'm a walking calamity, honestly. I am ridiculous. So nobody would be surprised that I knocked everything off. So careful. It's a shame. Anyway, stop talking about me being a disaster zone. Thank you so
Not
much
at
for
all.
joining us. Will you come back when you release book 2?
Oh, I would love to. Love to. Yeah.
Brilliant. I can't wait to see it. So good luck with it, and we'll see you next time. Thank you for everyone who's watched and asked questions.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Sam. Thank you, everyone else. And yeah, see you next time. Bye-bye.